Hello and good evening. Welcome to the Australian Grand Prix, the pre-season 2 for the Invictus Racing League pre-season no assist race. My name is CaptainStiff. I will be in the commentary box tonight for you. Unfortunately, Nevermiss cannot be with us tonight. We wish him well and hope he rejoins us next week for the first race of the season in Mexico City. Of course, Australian Grand Prix held at Albert Park since 1996. Before then it was Adelaide, and Australian Grand Prix has been held since the 1920s. Both street circuits, and Melbourne a favourite of many of the drivers, with 16 turns over a 3.29 mile track. The cars at full throttle for around 60% of lap, with a very high downforce track. So the drivers need to make sure that they've set up their cars right for this race, with 380 metre turn, or run I should say, run from start finish line to T1, and 2 consecutive DRS zones down the start finish line and off of turn 2 down the straight into turn 3. Today we're joined by drivers and a couple of returners, so we do have Malk and Craig who have managed to make it for this one. We also have Chill Niliand, who of course took the pole and the win last week. Betrayer and Nikki, who were in second and third, are also with us this week. So we are looking for a very competitive race today. It's going to be very exciting. Now the guys with the no assist, of course, they're getting into the swing of it. They're making sure that all the cobwebs have been blown off, ready for next week in Mexico City. Very different race today is what they've got next week, so they've really got to make sure that today it's more tuning their cars up, ready for the street circuits such as Singapore coming later in the season. But this race it can be very difficult to overtake, so they've really got to make sure that if they're going to make a deep lunge, it's going to have to be into one of the corners, such as the first corner into Jones, maybe down a second DR straight into the sports centre. But around much of the lap it is a very tricky overtaking, so you're going to be following people around, making sure that you're kind of getting in their slipstream and just getting as many different opportunities as possible. It's really going to be a tough one. So we join the race, the guys line up on the start finish grid. We will see that unfortunately we did miss qualifying, but Nicky 9095 did finish on pole, so he does take his first pole position in this pre-season, with Betrayer in second, Stifler with a great result in third, Joel in fourth, with Chill nearly had last week's pole and winner in fifth, Craig on the Super Softs with a great result coming in sixth, with Mike in seventh, Mama Fisher eighth, Romeo in ninth, and Malk making his return also on the Super Softs in 10th. Now of course these guys, as there's only 10 runners today, will all be starting on those tyres that they finished qualifying on, so no strategy advantages for anyone. They're starting on those tyres that have got a little bit of scrub on them, so it will be slightly tricky for them. As we just follow them round here, we can see the Haas come down the straight with the Ferrari, the Renault and the Red Bull. The guys here just making sure those tyres are nicely warmed up, weaving from side to side. Of course, do take the rules very strictly in IRL, so anyone caught tapping or getting disqualified on the formation lap can find themselves in deep trouble with the stewards after the race, so making sure you're not sticking too much effort onto that acceleration pedal and then hard on the brakes, so it's not to catch anyone out behind you. Now I'm really looking at today some of the people that I'd say we've got a real opportunity is Nicky 9095 Betrayer. Like I said, came second and third last week, so really want to push on from them, but I wouldn't push I wouldn't stop Chill Niliand or say that anywhere from Chill Niliand. Mike is also a very dark horse, so we have a potential for it to be a very exciting race. Now as the guys form up on the grid, the last one's coming into place with Malk in the Force India rolling into his grid spot in 10th. We wait for the 5 lights. 2, 3, 4, 5 lights. And they're off. We're off at the Australian Grand Prix. The guys make their run down to start that long turn. Do we get any moves into the first corner? Everyone seems to be nicely around. Don't see anyone with any nicked front wings, so that is good to see. Nicky has made a great start, stretched out a little bit of a lead. We do have a Red Bull with a bit of a dive there. So Chill Nilliand and Joel fighting between 4th and 5th place. So some lovely battles there. Really nicely done. We do have a yellow in the back. Who's that for? I just missed it. Malk has made a lovely start from 10th up to 7th. So on those super soft tyres, he's managed to get a good jump on Mike, Mama Fisher and Romeo. But Nicky, as you see, is already pulling out a nice little lead, being followed by Stifler and Betrayer. Stifler, who's pushed up from 4th, so a very nice start for Stifler. He's always very fast starting. It's all about consistency in the race for him, though. Nicky running slightly wide, coming out of the corner, manages to get a good run down into Ascari. Here we are into Stewart, running into Prost, which is the final complex of corners, to finish the first lap. A nice lead, so it's a good start for Nicky. Nice and consistent open lap. Stifler in 2nd, Betrayer 3rd, Chill Nillian 4th, Joel 5th, Craig 6th, Malk 7th, Mike 8th, Mama Fisher 9th and Romeo in 10th. We see there Stifler and Betrayer in a nice little battle there. This is something I feel like we might be seeing a lot throughout this season. These two seem to be very finely matched, so not much between them. Very, very close racing for the last 2 races between these two. The only thing that put Stifler out last week was a slight mistake that cost him a little bit of time, but apart from that, he would have been right up in the battle with Betrayer and Nicky. Betrayer just having a look up the inside, but decides to back out of it. Stifler does run a little bit wide. That's going to give Betrayer a nice run through the golf course sweeper. Gets in the toe. He's got a lovely drag on him into weight. He's going to spool around. It's not an overtaking position though, so he's going to have to wait a little bit. He comes around the golf course. He's coming into hill and down towards Ascari. Lovely little bit of toe then. Is he going to outbrake him? No, Stifler does. Nice little bit of defensive driving there. Keeps it behind, but the problem with that is it is bringing Chill Nilliand into play. The Toro Rosso is slowly starting to creep up behind these ones, and we do have a chance of a 3-way battle for 2nd place. As we go back here, we'll just check out. Joel is also starting to creep up to the back of these guys, so we do see when I get a 4-way battle. We do have a yellow flag, and we have got Mike, who has unfortunately lost it, coming out of the final turn, coming out of Prost onto the start-finish line, and he's put it into the wall. Now, how much has he damaged his front wing? He has taken the front end plate off the front right hand side, so that's going to really hamper his downforce, especially around here where you need as much downforce as possible, but unfortunately he's going to have to make entire way round to the pit lane, so it's the worst possible place you can get front wing damage. Unfortunately Mike does leave the session. He does say that it was pretty much an unrecoverable situation from there. He will be stuck floating around on his own just on the back of the grid as we join Malk here, who is following Craig. Only 0.7 of a second between them, so Craig and Malk both very evenly matched drivers. Did look like Malk there might have just got a little bit of a corner cut. They're running over the golf course sweeper into weight. He does follow Craig very nicely. These two are very consistent drivers, but also very quick drivers. Known each other for many, many years, so you can expect some very clean but competitive racing between them. We'll go up to Betrayer. We do have Stifler and Betrayer runs slightly wide. He was out braking himself into the first corner. Oh, and he's also lost it at the first corner as well, which is the worst thing could possibly happen. So Betrayer dropping all the way back. He's going to drop all the way back to 8th position, so nightmare scenario for the Betrayer. He's going to have to hope for an absolute miracle if he's going to make it back up. He does there, making his way back onto the track, so absolute catastrophe there for the Betrayer. Last thing he wanted, and of course those tyres with the ultra softs that already had the scrub from the qualifying session on them, as you can see from the lockup there, they're going to be screaming at the moment. They're going to be roaring, and he puts it into the barrier again. He's just, at the moment, you've just got to creep around. You've got to make sure that you're not putting your foot on the accelerator too much, because the tyres are going to be overheating. They're not going to have any grip, and you're just going to find yourself as they're just into the barrier. And of course he also has the added bonus of the front wing damage, so he's going to have, especially around these sweeping corners, he's going to have a real issue with trying to get back to the pits. As we move up there, we go back to Craig and Malk. This battle is still going on. Craig just about staying ahead of Malk. Malk nicely tucked up behind as Craig slides, and he's lost it into the wall. Oh, it's a nightmare for Craig. Not what he wanted to do. Such consistent running for the first part of the race, but just lost it coming out of Prost onto the start finish line and just slid sideways into the wall. It doesn't look like he's got any front wing damage, but we will see that he's not dropped too much time. So of course on those super soft tyres he's going to want to run these a little bit longer than the guys on the ultra soft, so it's a real issue for him that he wants to try and keep as much life in these tyres as possible. As Betrayer does come into the pit, he needs to make sure that he's got that front wing change. Is he going to drop onto the... He's put in a set of what looks like super softs on, so he's going to try and run on the super softs, but it will be a real push for him to get to the end of this race on just the super soft tyres. They're going to have to do 24 laps, which is quite a long stint. As we look through the grid, Joel is the closest at the moment. Joel really battling with Chil Niliand here, so Chil not as comfortable as he was last week, where he streaked away from the rest of the grid and was comfortably 5 seconds ahead for pretty much the entire race. Only Nicky was the only one that managed to get anywhere near him, but today Joel, who was absent last week, is right up the gearbox with Chil Niliand, so Chil, he's got to make sure he's nice and consistent. Oh, a little bit of a twitch there for Joel coming out of the corner as he goes 0.4 of a second behind, so he does have that DRS open, and he will have it going again as they get through through Brabham, down towards the sports centre. It's nice there, nice and chill, just to keep him behind, but Joel looks like he's in the mood to overtake, and he's right up behind him here. Just the problem around Australia is there's just nowhere to overtake. He's gonna be weaving all over the track, just trying to put Chil off, to keep him looking in his mirrors and hope that he just misses his braking point. He has got a very much better run up this time. Is he going to make a lunge up the inside? No, he backs out of it. So, but Chil just runs slightly wide. That's given Joel the opportunity to run out, but slides out a little bit. They're going to run round the sweeper through to wait in the golf course. But it's not an overtaking opportunity. He's going to need to make sure that Chil Niliand does make a mistake coming around this corner, but Chil keeps it nice and tidy, and Joel in that dirty air is getting very, very twitchy. Of course, this is the closest battle we've got on track at the moment. Nicky has a nice 4.7 second lead over Stifler at the moment, so Stifler is enjoying quite a decent race today. He's not under threat from Chil Niliand at the moment, because Chil is of course defending for his life against Joel, who's going to have a very, very nice run down into T1 here. He's got that DRS open, but he's not quite close enough to make a move into Jones. He moves through Brabham. He's going to open up that DRS again. He's going to get a second bit of boost as they move down towards the sports centre. Does he get any closer? He doesn't. Both drivers lock up, so on those ultra soft tyres, that's not what they want to be doing. They want to try and keep the life in these tyres as long as possible. These tyres of course go off very, very quickly, have very limited lifespan, and do overheat very, very quickly, so you will find drivers locking up towards the end of their stints more frequently. Nicky slightly stretching his lead over Stifler at the moment, so moved it up just about 2.25 a second that over the first two sectors of this lap, so Nicky stretching his legs a little bit over Stifler, but Stifler still managing to keep a nice lead over Chill. Joel within 0.1 of a second. He's got a much better run coming out of this corner. He's going to move down through hill into Ascari, and he has got the move done. Chill nearly brakes a little bit later, but he's got the move done. It's a wonderful move there from Joel. Really, really, really nicely done. Just got into the back of Chill and just made sure that he had a nicer run coming out of the golf course section. But he does get slightly twitchy coming out onto Prost. He wants to make sure that he's not overheating those tyres too much, but as you can see it already, just making that move, Joel has already broken a almost 1 second lead over Chill Nearland already, so obviously being held up there. And now it looks like Joel's going to start hunting down Stifler, but he has got almost 4.5 seconds to make up. So we follow Nicky here in the lead, nice and consistent. Nicky very shown that there is potential that Speed Queen may come under threat for the three-peat for her title. Of course, she not able to attend tonight, and she is the two-time reigning champion, so really needs someone to come up and challenge her for her throne. Is Nicky the one to do it? Has improved massively over the break between the two seasons. Very consistent in the last two races. We can expect good things from him going forward. Stretching out that lead now to almost 5.5 seconds, so the guys behind really need to pick up the pace, because otherwise we'll find that Nicky is just going to drive away with this race. And we go back down. Chill Nelia must have made a mistake, because Mount makes his way past. Lovely move there from Mount up the inside. He does. No, I think Chill just clipped the back end of Mount there and loses an end plate off his front wing. So that's the worst case scenario for Chill Nelia there. He was already losing time, and he's just lost a bit of end plate there. And has he decided to bail into the pits? He has. He's decided he needs to replace that front wing. It's so imperative here to make sure that you've got as much downforce as possible, and just that slight error there has caused him to make an early pit stop. Now he does move on to the soft tyres, so whereas Betrayer went on to the super softs hoping to keep it a bit quicker, Chill is going on to the soft, so he will be able to run to the end with those. They will be slightly higher percentage wise by the end of the race, but it does mean that he will pretty much comfortably be able to run to the end. As we get back on track here, we follow around with Craig, who is 1.9 seconds behind Mama Fisher. Believe they're coming up to the back of a lapped car. It does. The lap car gets out the way. That looks to be Mike. It is Mike. As Craig makes his way around. Of course, Craig made that slight error when he was in the battle with Malk and slid into the wall at the end of the start finish line. Cost himself a lot of time, so really unfortunate for Craig, who could be right up there battling. Locks up a little bit going into Ascari. Comes round Stewart and he's coming into the Prost section. Nice and tight. He does get a little bit of a twitchy slide coming out of that corner again, so turning out to be quite a problematic corner for Craig today. As we move back up the grid, we can see Joel hasn't taken too much time out of Stifler, so he's driven away from Chill Nearland, who obviously dropped down due to that wing problem, but hasn't made too much of an inroad on Stifler. So Stifler seems to have noticed that someone's overtaken from behind. Joel was going to start creeping up towards him, but Stifler seems to have picked up the pace, and he's keeping Joel at bay, and if anything he's stretching out the lead slightly. It was 4.7, it's dropped up to 4. It was increased to 4.9. The race kind of neutralised at the moment, with quite a lot of drivers who have been making slight errors with slides around this track, which can be very easy, of course, especially if you're following drivers around here. We found in the season opener of Formula 1, with the dirty air was really hampering a lot of the drivers, and Lewis Hamilton was saying that he struggled to overtake around here at the best of times, and with the dirty air with these new cars, how they create that warm hot air coming off the back of the cars, overtaking around here is really tricky, and the drivers seem to be finding that today, is that following a car behind really sends your car all sorts of ways with many different twitches. And we do see that Nicky and Stifler both came into the pit. So Nicky came into the pit and has decided to go onto the supers. So is he going to try and run the supers to the end? Because Stifler came in afterwards, decided to react straight to Nicky. So he's trying to go 1 for 1. Didn't try to go for the overcut, but Stifler decided to push for the the soft tyres, whilst Nicky's going for the supers. So two very different strategy options there. Of course, Nicky will be faster at the start of this stint, but if Stifler can keep within a certain distance, he might be able to claw it back at the end when Nicky starts to run high on that tyre wear. We have Nicky here, of course, out of the pits, had a nice advantage, so only dropped down to 4th place and is lining up a move on Mama Fisher very nicely. As we go on board with Nicky, Mama Fisher makes a slight error that's going to push Nicky onto the grass. That's not what he wants to see. Oh, luckily for him, keeps it just under control. Just got a little bit too close. He's going to have much more grip on those super soft tyres compared to Mama Fisher on those old ultra softs. So he didn't really want to go for the overtake there. That was a little bit preemptive there. What he should have done is waited until this section here and tucked right up to the back of the gearbox of Mama Fisher and gotten down the DRS straight, because he's going to have so much more grip on those tyres. But unfortunately what he did there was just use up even more tyre wear, which is going to be important for him on these super softs. Just runs slightly wide there, and he's picked up a 3-second time penalty for corner cutting. So multiple warnings for track extending. Did run slightly wide, of course. Keep at least 2 tyres inside of the yellow lines on either side of the track, otherwise you will find yourself in trouble with the stewards, as we found last week in Russia, where many of the drivers were struggling with time penalties at the end of the race. Mama Fisher runs wide, so outbrakes himself going into the corner, and luckily for Nicky, that gets him out of the way. Mama Fisher does get back on track, and you feel that he's got to come into the pits end this lap. His tyres have really got to be struggling, but with the Toro Rosso falling off the track like that, that's given Nicky no reason not to retake the lead, as it looks like Malk, who is in the lead at the moment. Of course, Nicky is effective first place with having already made a stop. How long is Malk going to try and run away on his super soft tyres, of course, which he started on? Craig and Malk both started on the supers, so they do have a little bit of a longer window to running compared to the guys on the ultras, who will be really struggling. So as we see, so Mama Fisher does come into the pits. Does he get it slowed down for the pit lane? He does, so nicely done there. Mama Fisher makes it in. Of course, lost a large chunk of time with that slight excursion at the end during the middle sector. Goes on to the supers, so Mama Fisher is going to go for the ultra soft, super soft. The supers may from now get to the end of the race, 16 laps, so you should get there. It'll be very high tyre wear by the end, but if he looks after his tyres and doesn't lock up the brakes too much, he should find himself towards the end of the race still relatively fresh. Of course, the guys on the softs, so it's Chilniliand and Stifler, by the end of the race they should be the ones that have the advantage, because they would have much fresher tyres and much less tyre wear, so they'll get much more grip coming out of the corners, especially through the golf course sweeper and into the golf course section, which is very hard on the tyres with the very fast left right. So, Malk running slightly wide there, which is going to put him out of shape slightly for Prost, but he does pull it in nicely onto the start finish line. Now Malk did pick up a penalty on the last way round. I believe it was for a corner cut on the first corner, a track extender. As you can see there, it's very easy just to run over the first the first corner, just trying to get as much of a straight line into the second corner as possible. Of course, it's the driver's ways. You want to make the track as short as possible, and if you can take any liberties by slightly cutting each corner and not getting any penalties, then that's exactly what you've got to do. The fastest time can be found is by just running over some of those corners, but the stewards will penalise you if you really run over with all 4 tyres off of the racing line. See Nicky absolutely flying today. So Nicky has already got within 2 seconds of Malk. Malk is going to find himself with a house breathing very heavily down the back of his neck very soon, and especially on those old super soft tyres, he essentially will be a sitting duck for Nicky. And that nice fresh rubber will have ultimate grip with the DRS, and I don't think Malk stands much of a chance, and if anything it might be safer for him just to let it happen and just let Nicky steam past and try and follow him. But Malk, there we go, so Malk does decide instead of battling with him, he's going to pit in. So did Malk, with that longer stint compared to the guys in the supers, the ultras, did he give himself any difference in time? Will he come out ahead of... He's looking at coming out around sixth place. Definitely going to come out before 7th. So he comes up. So he does come out. So 5th, we're looking at John Lilliand, who's coming down the start-finish line. It's going to be very close between these two. As Malk makes it to the end of the pit lane, and he does jump chill. So nicely done there for Malk, but who's also decided to go on the softs from here to the end of the race. So felt like that he couldn't do the soft, ultra soft. He's going to do the super soft to soft compound strategy. So quite a conservative strategy there for Malk. As we look down towards green, of course, poor Betrayer, who was running really well at the start of this race, up the top end of the grid. We do have Mike off, unfortunately, again. So Mike, a little bit of a scrappy race today. Found him earlier, lost it out the final corner into turn 1, lost some front wing. It looks like he's lost some more front wing, so absolute nightmare race for Mike today, just after his excellent race last week where he started in last place but made it up to 6th with some superb overtakes. Unfortunately, with this street circuit, it is very unforgiving, especially these guys that are running no assist. These very fast sweeping corners, it's very easy to lock your brakes up. You touch that grass and it's almost like wet AstroTurf, and it will turn you around. Mike's problem with Mike, does he decide to stay out as he's so far behind and just see how it goes, or is he going to come in, just use this as essentially as a practice session? As we see Craig, who pitted from the super softs, so whereas Malk decided to go for the softs to the end of the race, Craig has decided to go for the ultra softs, and he's going to come out just ahead of Betrayer. So Betrayer is going to get a nice run on him and his already warmed up tyres. Is Craig going to battle him? Betrayer taking the outside line, but Craig defensive, and he's locked up those fresh ultras. Betrayer still on top of him, but Craig should, with this brand new fresh ultra rubber, he should have the advantage, and he should be able to drive away a little bit from Betrayer. As we follow from the helicopter, lovely shot here looking down upon Craig as we follow around through Lauder into Clark, braking the guys on the hill. The spectators will be watching as he goes through Clark into Fittipaldi onto the sweeper. He did pick up a time penalty through those corners there. Another, like turn 1 and turn 2, very easy to run over the bollards there, over the curbs, and pick up the penalty. Does take a nice run through the golf course section, and he is slightly further ahead from Betrayer, so he's managed to pull out a 0.6 of a second lead over him. Of course, that was, he was side by side going into the sports centre corner. Craig will find he's got to run these ultra softs for essentially 13 laps, so the guys that were running ultras managed to get around 12 laps out of them plus qualifying. So it is possible, if he can keep it on the road and he can keep himself from locking those brakes up. Betrayer's still following, he's going to get DRS. So we know Betrayer's a very fast driver and he's going to see Craig. Essentially this is his race now. He knows that there's no chance of moving up the grid, but if the guys here can practice overtaking and following cars ready for the season, essentially that's all you need to do. So nothing riding on pre-season apart from pride. So if you can get the practice in of following a car and getting your braking points right, as he just doesn't there. Betrayer runs slightly wide. He lost a lot of momentum of what he had on Craig, but we do find Craig running his first 2 outlaps have been very nice and grippy. So Craig suffered a little bit on those super softs at the start of the race. He was sliding around a little bit, as we see there, a little bit of a slide, bigger slide from Betrayer coming out of that corner. But Craig finding these new ultra softs slightly nicer to deal with. Now Craig has had an issue coming out of this corner all race, but as you can see, much nicer there, much tidier, and he's already pulled himself out of the DRS zone. So Betrayer starting to fall behind. With Craig on the ultra softs, you should hopefully see him setting some blistering hot times soon. As we move up, we see Mama Fisher here. He's 1.6 seconds behind Chilniand. He does have the super soft tyres on. He has recently made that pit stop, so he is on the faster tyre compared to Chilniand. He needs to make sure, if he's going to make this move, he's going to have to go past his team, or the teammate, and he's going to have to get it done soon, because Chill's tyres will start coming into their own later in the race, whereas Mama Fisher's will be burning out. So he needs to get this move done. He's already taken almost 0.3 of a second out of him on this lap, so it's really up to him. As we see Mike with a 1.269, so Mike running around on his own at the back, but decided to pit onto the super softs, and he's gonna go around it. He's gonna try and do what he did at the end of last season, where he was just running, trying to set as many fast laps as possible. Mama Fisher here slightly out of DRS, but he's going to get a little bit of a tow going down that start-finish straight. Chilniand picks up a penalty. As you see, some of the guys here are really starting to struggle with those penalties. They're going to start building up. Of course, that was a problem for Nicky, the leader of this race in the last race, who found himself with so many penalties that he picked up third place instead of second by 0.2 of a second over Betrayer. So Betrayer overhauled him by just having less penalties. So the guys here need to make sure they're being a little bit clumsy and keeping it on the track. Betrayer does come onto the pit. He's decided he couldn't fight Craig with those super softs on, so he's going for the 2-strop strategy, and he's moved on to ultras to go to the end of the race. So 10 laps on these ultras, we should see some very fast times coming out of him. So we move up to Mama Fisher, who has climbed right up to the back of Chilniand, so Chill must have made a mistake somewhere. Mama Fisher going slightly wide, running over this golf course section there, but it is in now within 0.4 of a second, so he's going to get DRS coming down the first start finish line. Going to make sure he gets a nice exit out of Prost. Oh, Chill well out of shape there. That's going to give Mama Fisher a nice run. He's got a nicer run out of Prost, opens the DRS. Now is Chill going to fight him into turn 1? Mama Fisher is going to come down. Is he going to give him a lunge? Is he going to have a look? He doesn't. He's tucked in. He's slightly run wide. That's going to hamper him a little bit. It means Chill's going to have a nice run. He has too much of a gap there, so he's not going to get the move done into Sports Centre. Chill does lock up, and that's the worst thing Chill could be doing right now. He wants to protect those soft tyres. Mama Fisher is going to have to get to the end on their super softs, and they're going to be high tyre wear by the end, so it's not a worst case scenario for Chill if he does lose the position to his teammate, because he does have the opportunity. Towards the end of the race, his tyres will come back to him. We'll go on board with Mama Fisher as he follows Chilniand. Of course, the dirty air around here will really upset the car going through the golf course sweeper like this. Just about keeps it inside the lines. He has lost a little bit of time. It's moved back up to almost 0.5 of a second. Mama Fisher does not want to lose his opportunity of getting past. He is going to get DRS, but he needs to be tucked right up behind the back of Chill Nelly, Chill gets a slightly better run out of the last corner, and Mama Fisher coming out of the dirty air as Chill Nelly decides to take the defensive line, but he didn't realise that he actually had quite a big gap there, so had to come off the racing line for a second. That slight movement might have just disrupted his braking point, because he does get slightly wrong into Sports Centre, which is going to bring Mama Fisher back into play. We've got a yellow in Sector 2. Who's it for? It's for Mike again. So Mike absolutely livid with himself as we see Betrayer on those new Ultra Softs do a 26 flat, so absolutely scorching lap from Betrayer there. Mike is not having a happy day, not enjoying the Ferrari round Albert Park, probably preferring to be on the golf course in the wheel, but he does persevere. It is good to see Mike carrying on with the race. It's very easy in this situation just to park it up in the pits and say, right, I'm done lads, that's me done for the day. But no, Mike does keep going. It is good just to get some practice in on days like today. As we move back up to the Mama Fisher and Chill Nelly fight, which is the closest fight on the circuit at the moment between the two Toro Rossos. Chill runs wide into the first cross section. Now what's Mama Fisher's run out of the last corner like? It's still not. He seems to be struggling with the grip coming out of the last corner. The grip on those soft tyres when Chill Nelly seems to be slightly better. Is he going to make a lunge into the first corner? No, he doesn't, but he's got a nice tuck behind Chill Nelly, and now he needs to open that DRS. He needs to get alongside and just essentially put his way through. He does get alongside. Is he going to make the move? He does. Mama Fisher locks up slightly, but he's got alongside. We can see here Chill Nelly is fighting him. Mama Fisher makes his way through, and a lovely overtake there. Nicely done, guys. Nice and clean. Chill Nelly on the soft tyres, so like I said before, it's not the end of the world for him to lose that position now, because he will have an opportunity in the next 3 or 4 laps to start coming back, as Mama Fisher's tyres will be considerably higher on wear. So Chill Nelly running around, but not too far away is Craig, who's coming through the golf course sweeper right now. He can see the two Toro Rossos ahead of him, so Craig will have the bit between his teeth. He's got those Ultra Softs on, so he's on 2 compounds softer than Chill Nelly, and he's going to have much quicker. As you can see, yeah, down to 1.8 seconds, so Craig really on the charge. 1.7 now, so you might find yourself in a lap time. We might find Craig in DRS zone and almost within reach of Mama Fisher and Chill Nelly. Down into Sports Centre, Craig, nice driving there. He sees the two Toro Rossos still battling out between themselves, so this is really bringing Craig into play here. The race is certainly not over him. There's still 5th and 6th place up for grabs. He's just got to keep it tidy, keep it on the black stuff, and he will really bring himself into play. Nice move there, as we Chill seems to be coming back at Mama Fisher, so even though Mama Fisher made that move, he's not pulling away from Chill Nelly, who if anything is slowly starting to come back at Mama Fisher. So was all that battling taking the life out of Mama Fisher's tyres, and Mama Fisher will he start to regret not getting the move done earlier? as Daniel Ricciardo says, lick the stamp and send it, which is probably what Mama Fisher would have hoped that he'd done 2 laps previously and just made a dive into turn 1 or to turn 3. Just got it done early. We have got a yellow in sector 2, and it's Romeo who's gone off at the goal. It looks like the sweeper section there, so doesn't want to lose his front wing like Rossi did. We've got the leader coming around there, so Nicky laps Romeo. Romeo there, bit of a nightmare race for him as well. Racing around at the back, had made two errors today. He doesn't want to, as you see, doesn't want to put his foot down too much because those tyres be very high temperature at the moment. He does look like he's lost a slight bit of end plate off. Does look like the front left hand side might have a slight bit of damage, but it doesn't look substantial. So we move back up to Craig and Chill Niliand. Craig now is within DRS, Chill Niliand within DRS and Mama Fisher. So Mama Fisher, who got ahead, is now going to find himself the Red Bull family, the Christian Horner on the wall is going to find himself as we see Craig go around the outside of Chill Niliand, and Chill made a mistake. Craig goes around the outside and Chill almost loses it coming up that sector. So real issues for Chill Niliand. Craig is absolutely flying at the moment on those ultra soft tyres. Bit of a gift. Certainly not where you'd expect to make an overtake on someone, but Chill with a bad run coming out of the sweeper. Craig running outside, getting it done into Hill and Ascari. So superb move from Craig. As Mike sets a 25.8, so Mike and Betrayer, Mike back on some ultra soft tyres. He's gonna get it. Feels like it might be a bit of a battle between who can get the fastest time on those ultra soft tyres. The guys running around at the back of the grid. The guys here, they seem to have it's a 1.5 and 1.1 gap, so currently not in DRS activation, so a little bit neutralised at the moment. Chill just dropping under that 1 second, so you need to make sure he's going to get up to the back of him before the end of this lap so he gets it done on the start finish line. But with only 3 laps left to go, Chill needs to get a move on, because Craig is well known for looking after his tyres. He's quite happily said that he gets quite a lot of life out of the ultras compared to some of the other guys. Feathers that brake pedal a lot better than some of the others. So he will be a challenge to get back past, but Mama Fisher seemed to be running a little bit nicer now on those super softs after really struggling, but Craig runs slightly wide coming out of Prost. That's going to make him really out of shape for the first start finish line. Chill unfortunately wasn't close enough behind to capitalise, but Craig again ran those last complex of corners a little bit twitchy. He's going to be struggling because he was running ultras quite nicely, but it's all about managing that tyre wear. As we see Mike into the pits, comes out on the ultras again, so Mike with another pit stop. That must have been his 5th pit stop today, so the pit crew have really had their work cut out from today. Mike comes out in a brand new set of ultras. I'm surprised they've got any tyres left. They're probably putting old rims on it. It must be his qualifying time he's putting on. His absolute nightmare race from today. As we go up to the top, we see race leader here, Nicky. Absolute class of his own today, so no challenge whatsoever. Took the lead, was already dominating throughout the first few laps, and has driven away. But it shouldn't be overlooked by Stifler, who's had an absolutely class race in 2nd place. So Stifler has made note in the IRL forums that he needs to improve his consistency and his speed and take a few risks throughout the race, and that's something that he's done here. He's really impressed today, so congratulations Stifler. We're really hoping he keeps on the track for the rest of the race. But of course guys, if you want to be involved with Invictus Racing, do head to our website at invictusracingleagues.com. Sign up there, speak to one of the admins and we will introduce you to the rest of the guys. Of course, if you want to find out what's going on with the rest of the leagues, we do have the Invictus at Invictus RL on Twitter. We'll keep you updated with some of the best overtakes from the leagues and the results throughout the league. So we have on a Monday we have the No Assist League. On Tuesday we do have the Performance League with some of the fastest drivers on F1 2017, and on Wednesday we have our F1, F2 and F3 leagues, all very competitive leagues coming into their final pre-season races they are this week. So make sure you keep an eye on the Twitch channels for them. So we go back down to the battle. So Craig seems to have dropped off quite a bit from Mama Fisher here, and John Lillian still just touching around the 1 second bubble. He's not quite within DRS job point by 0.003 of a second. He's going to miss out. So a bit of a respite here for Craig as Chill just can't seem to hook it up. So not the race that Chill was looking for after his dominant display last week in Russia. Took the pole and the win, but a little bit of an error-strewn race here from Chill today. Some of the guys have managed to run the supers to the end off the ultras, which is a very well played. So Joel and Nicky, both of the ultras to the supers, as Mike does a 25-1. So if he's not losing his front wing and he's not in the wall, Mike shows that he's an incredibly quick driver, as we do have Chill Nillian, who's made it right up to the back of Craig here, as Craig locked up hard into Clark corner. Chill right up to the back of him, he's right in the slipstream, but we know this isn't overtaking. It would have to be very bold of him to make any sort of move out of it. This is where you lose your front wing. Chill Nillian right up behind the back of him. He's got to get a good run following out of this, but Craig is he's going to be struggling on those old ultras. But Chill out breaks himself into Ascari, so he loses all of that momentum that he just made, and with 1 lap left I think this might be Craig's position. Stifler picks up a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings, most likely track extending, but it depends. Joel seems to have picked up a few penalties as well, so we'll see at the end of the race how penalties play out with this race. We'll come around, we'll just follow Nicky on his final tour of this Albert Park Melbourne for the Australian Grand Prix, the final pre-season race, with Mexico City, Mexico next Monday. Make sure you join us next week with hopefully Never Miss, and I will be joining you for the commentary box with a full grid of guys ready as Nicky takes the final corner out of Prost, tours down, takes the checkered flag and wins in Australia. Congratulations to Nicky with an absolute brilliant race. Superb strategy executed perfectly. Stifler will be ecstatic with a second place. It's well done to him, very well done. Much better from what we saw with Joel coming in third. So the penalties for Stifler did not affect him. He still maintained second. Does Joel keep second? Was Malk, who's had a very tidy race, made his way up from far down the grid and takes 4th position in the Force India. Just behind him is going to be Mama Fisher, who takes 5th. Craig comes across, takes 6th, but he drops down to Chill Nillian, who does get his man at the end on penalty. So the last person to finish will be Betrayer, who I believe is still on the lead lap. Romeo and Mike finish. They were a lap down, but Betrayer, the unlucky man today, had a bit of a nightmare, comes out the final corner, and he will be the last person to cross the line. And there is your race, ladies and gentlemen. Pretty exciting one. It was good to see some new people up the front end of the grid. It was good to see Joel. Joel was very good today, but you can't look past Nicky. Nicky was absolute class of his own. As we see the Haas driver take the top step of the podium with the Renault in second and the Red Bull in third. So there are your final results. Nicky 9095 in the Haas takes first place. Stifler 1980 in second with Joel in third. Malk takes fourth with Mama Fisher in fifth. Chill Nelly-End in sixth. Craig in seventh with Betrayer in eighth. Romeo in ninth. And Mike with his 5 pit stops, about 40 sets of tyres used, takes 10th place 2 laps down. So thank you everyone for joining me tonight. Sorry it was a little bit haphazard. We will be back for Mexico next week with the opening race of the IRL No Assist season. We will be back showing you all of the sessions from qualifying to the race. Thank you for joining us. I will see you next week.